What are expert testimony standards explained? Imagine a courtroom where complex facts are being debated, and a person with special knowledge steps forward to help clarify things. That's where expert witnesses come in. But how do courts decide if an expert's opinion is trustworthy enough to be heard? That's what expert testimony standards are all about. They are the rules that tell us when and how an expert can share their opinions in court. These standards make sure that the evidence is both relevant and reliable, helping judges and juries understand complicated issues beyond everyday knowledge. First, the expert must be qualified. This means they need the right background, like education, training, or experience related to the case. For example, a doctor testifying about a medical injury needs to have proper medical training. Second, their opinion has to help the judge or jury understand the evidence or decide on a fact in question. If their testimony doesn't add clarity, it might not meet the standards. Third, the expert's opinion must be based on enough facts or data. They can't just guess or relying on personal beliefs. For instance, if an engineer is explaining how a bridge failed, they need to base their opinion on actual measurements and analysis. Next, the methods or principles used by the expert must be reliable and accepted in their field. This means their approach should follow scientific or technical standards. For example, a forensic scientist using a well-established DNA testing method is more likely to meet this requirement. Finally, the expert must correctly apply those methods to the case's facts. If they use a scientific technique properly, their opinion is more credible. Courts use these standards as a gatekeeper. They decide whether to admit or exclude expert opinions based on whether they meet these rules. In the United States, the rules are often written into laws like Rule 700 of the Federal Rules of Evidence. The person presenting the expert testimony has the burden to prove it meets these standards, usually by a preponderance of the evidence. The Supreme Court also set a key guideline called the Daubert Standard. This requires judges to evaluate if the expert's methods are scientifically valid and relevant. They look at whether the technique can be tested, peer-reviewed, has a known error rate, and is accepted by the scientific community. The judge's role as gatekeeper is very important. They ensure that only trustworthy, relevant expert opinions are allowed. This protects the fairness of the trial and helps prevent unreliable evidence from influencing the jury. Attorneys can challenge expert testimony through motions or cross-examination, questioning whether the standards are met. In summary, expert testimony standards make sure that an expert is qualified, their opinion is relevant and helpful, and that their methods are reliable and properly applied. Courts carefully evaluate these factors to keep the trial fair and the evidence trustworthy.